pandemic challenge. There is new help. Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine is approved and it is being shipped. The initial supplies of this new vaccine, you see right there some of the shipping, are modest. Still, the Biden COVID team says nearly 4 million doses of J&J's vaccine should be distributed just this week. This as the administration tries to make March a month of giant progress in the immunization race.
I remain deeply concerned about a potential shift in the trajectory of the pandemic. The latest CDC data continue to suggest that recent declines in cases have leveled off at a very high number. I am really worried about reports that more states are rolling back the exact public health measures we have recommended to protect people from COVID-19. I understand the temptation to do this. 70,000 cases a day seems good compared to where we were just a few months ago. But we cannot be resigned to 70,000 cases a day.
Very significant what you just heard there from the new CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky. Even with this good news, more vaccines on the way, you heard what she said, deep concern. Let's walk through the numbers and show what she's talking about. Part of it is this map. You see more red and more orange. If you've been with us for the past year, you know that means cases heading in the wrong direction. More new COVID infections now compared to a week ago. You see 16 states trending up. 19 states holding steady, only 15 states trending down. 15 states fewer new infections this week than last week. 19 steady, 16 up. That's heading in the wrong direction. State death trend stabilizing somewhat nationally, even down a little bit nationally. But if you look at this, 17 states reporting more new COVID deaths right now compared to a week ago. 10 steady, 23 trending down. More of a mixed picture when you look at deaths. But here's what Dr. Walensky is so worried about. This is what she's worried about right here if you look at this. You remember the beginning of the year, we were in the horrific winter surge. Yes, we have come down significantly from over 250,000 cases a day back there. Yes, we're down, actually down to about 50,000, 51,000 on Sunday. Weekends sometimes go low. But if you look at what Dr. Walensky's talking about, you see that plateau right here. Above 60,000 cases. This is what she is worried about, that it's stabilizing right here at a very dangerous point. Hospitalizations, you look here, coming down, but also in the past week, it looks like it's plateauing a little bit. This is what she's worrying about, that there's a plateau in cases right at this time. Yes, more vaccines are coming, but what else is happening right now? More states beginning to ease their restrictions. CNN's Kristen Holmes joins us now. Virginia, Massachusetts, just two, Kristen, among the many states that are starting to say, let's let people dine out. Let's let more people gather. Let's take away some of these restrictions because people are exhausted by them. Dr. Walensky says, careful.
That's right, John. I mean, this is really some of the most straightforward pleas that we've heard from these federal health officials urging people to be cautious. You know, there is a lot of concern around complacency. And it's not just, as you said, more people getting vaccines so people start to feel more secure, but it's also that warm weather and the fact that people are just tired. And there's concern that if you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you might rush to get there. But now we're hearing from these federal officials who are saying not so fast, slow down, be patient. We are at a critical moment. Take a listen to the director of the CDC here.
Please hear me clearly. At this level of cases with variants spreading, we stand to completely lose the hard-earned ground we have gained. These variants are a very real threat to our people and our progress. Now is not the time to relax the critical safeguards that we know can stop the spread of COVID-19 in our communities, not when we are so close.
And that's the thing, is that people are starting to feel like we are so close, but we are seeing those numbers, as you said, level off at a place that they don't want them to be leveling off at. So it's all about right now, in this critical moment, staying focused and staying healthy, keeping with those guidelines that they've put forward, John.
And that's what makes it, Christian, such a delicate moment. You heard Dr. Walensky saying, do not let up the mitigation. Stay separated. Please keep your mask on. Essentially begging governors there, stop. Don't roll back the restrictions anymore. Give us a few more weeks or a month or so to do it. Here's one of the reasons. If you look right now, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, look, this is more good news. Pfizer is out there. Moderna is out there. Here comes Johnson & Johnson. 72% effective in U.S. trials. 85% effective against severe disease. All of the experts say this works. It works completely. Listen to the CEO of the company saying, very important to get this into the pipeline right now because of the COVID variants.
It's so important for us to get shots as soon as we can to prevent these replications, because it can mutate, it can turn into a new variant, and therefore make it more challenging. The other school of thought, however, is that this virus is getting close to reaching its fittest point, and that if we can all get vaccinated, we stand a good chance to basically really being able to control it.
One of the challenges, though, Kristen, is how much of a help is this? Look, it's a third weapon, it's a third vaccine. That's a great thing. 4 million doses, just shy of that, will be administered this week. All the doses Johnson & Johnson has being shipped, being put in arms this week. But then there's going to be a lull. They're bringing up a new manufacturing facility, 20 million by the end of March. It'll be 4 months till we get up to 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson. So, Kristen, this is a boost and a help this week, but then we're not so sure.
That's right. There are still a lot of questions as to how this is going to look in the weeks to come. I mean, as we've talked about repeatedly, there was a miscommunication, which we heard about from a federal health official, that essentially moved the Johnson & Johnson manufacturing timeline. Remember, we originally thought we were going to see more doses of Johnson & Johnson in this first sweep. Now, as the administration officials have told us time and time again, every single one of these doses that has been made is going off the shelves, which means that there is going to be a lull in production. Now, we had heard multiple times that between March and April, we were going to see a huge over 30 million or up to 30 million doses. Now it's looking more like 20 million doses by the end of March. So a couple of things to watch here. It's not just the fact that there might be this drought, which we are likely to see because of the fact that all of these doses are going out now. It's also about the providers getting those shots into arms. They have to actually set up, make sure their clinicians are ready to give them out. And they have to fight any sort of vaccine hesitancy, any sort of questions about this new vaccine, which we know are likely to come up. So there will likely be a small lull here as you look at the weeks ahead. But by the end of March, they are anticipating a huge ramp up, both with Johnson & Johnson and with Pfizer and Moderna.
The administration's position is take what you can now, make any progress you can, and then get the rest in the pipeline as quickly as possible. We'll watch it play out. Kristen Hope's grateful for the reporting and insights. Let's move on to the legislative battle. Now the COVID relief debate moving to the Senate this week. And Democrats know they are likely on their own. Not one Republican supported the nearly $2 trillion package as it passed the House early Saturday. The House bill includes a minimum wage hike, but we already know that provision will be stripped out when the Senate debate begins. That's because of a parliamentary rule. And a Plan B drafted by some Democrats also now being scuttled. The House would have to take up the COVID package again once the Senate makes its changes. The hope is to get it signed into law before the middle of the month. That's when millions of Americans are set to lose their pandemic unemployment benefits. Our chief congressional correspondent, Manu Raju, is here with me. And so, Manu, you look at the debate going forward in the Senate. Starts this week, the so-called votorama coming up in the middle of your week. Bring espresso. Where do we see this ending up? Likely to be scaled back some financially in terms of the final price tag. Obviously, the minimum wage comes out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much more there will be changed of this bill once the minimum wage is stripped out. We know that there's virtually no path to get the minimum wage done. Even this alternative measure, as you reference, is not going to get into this bill because Democrats just can't get on the same page on this issue. But the real concern among the Senate Democratic leadership right now is if there are significant changes, it's going to upset the very fragile balance in getting this through both chambers. In the House, you still have to consider the fact that their liberals could revolt if it gets pared back too much. And as a result, this bill, which has been negotiated behind the scenes between Senate Democrats and House Democrats for some time, they want to keep it largely intact. That's going to be a challenge because, as you mentioned, because of this process they're using, any senator can offer any amendment, dozens of amendments if they want, and that is just going to put a lot of Democrats in a difficult spot. Do they accept some more moderate changes, which could upset that balance, or do they decide to say no to all amendments altogether? So they're walking into a legislative minefield.
And keeping the progressives happy, it's important anyway, because you've got to send it back to the House. You have no margin of error in the Senate, but you only have 4 or 5 vote margin over back in the House. If everybody votes out here, we're going to show you these pictures right here. Those are UPS trucks, 18-wheelers right there, carrying Johnson & Johnson vaccine. They're heading to a shipping facility in Kentucky. This is progress in the fight against COVID, and we want to show it to you. Again, 3.9 million doses of the new J&J vaccine hitting the roads today, meaning they will get to pharmacies, they will get to hospitals, they will get to community health clinics, they will get to hard-to-reach neighborhoods because these are easier to storage here, leaving Shepherdsville, Kentucky, on their way to Louisville, I believe, this particular truck. We're going to watch this one play out. It is progress in the fight against COVID. You even get a police escort. It's amazing. All right, it's good. It's good to see progress. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Manu. Back to the thing. So progressives, there are some now, there's a letter by a number of progressives to the vice president asking her to somehow overrule the parliamentarian. We know that's not going to happen, but it does show you the legitimate angst of progressives who for years have wanted to raise the minimum wage. Now you have a Democratic president, a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate. They say strike now while we can, but they can't.
Yeah, and that's the real frustration for the liberals because they see themselves as constantly compromising, and they see the Joe Manchins of the world, the centrist, moderate Democrats, as not compromising, as pulling everything to the center, but him not moving to the left. That is their frustration, but there really is just no path. What they are arguing to do is something that has not been done since 1975, which was the presiding officer, the vice president of the Senate, who's the president, vice president, who's the president of the Senate, to simply ignore the advice of the parliamentarian. The concern among senators is that could lead to chaos. The parliamentarian is designed to keep the process moving in the Senate, and doing so could lead to this unwieldy Senate. And also, at the end of the day, Joe Manchin could vote against the underlying bill. It could tank the overall effort. So that is why they're basically going to have to accept a loss here, which they don't want to do because this was a big campaign promise.